Welcome my top 10 people I would trust with my last slice of pizza.
Coming.
Please remember this is not financial advice.
Bitcoin is holding above the 21-day EMA, but is struggling to break through the 50-day EMA. Is this the final breakout before a bigger rally, or just a setup for a major liquidity sweep before the next leg down? Let's break it down. I'm still leaning bearish overall. While Bitcoin continues to reclaim important technical levels, my base case hasn't changed. I expect Bitcoin to eventually take out June's lower high, where a large amount of liquidity is sitting, before reversing lower to target the much larger liquidity pools below. The key level remains the short-term holder realized price around $67,000. As long as Bitcoin trades below this level, the broader downtrend remains intact. A rejection here would reinforce the bearish outlook, while a decisive reclaim would be the first real sign that bulls are regaining control. Bitcoin is currently bouncing from the 21-day EMA but continues to face resistance at the 50-day EMA. Above that, even stronger resistance waits at the weekly resistance level and the 50-month EMA. If bulls can break through all of those levels, the probability of Bitcoin sweeping June's lower high increases significantly. However, funding rates remain positive, suggesting traders are still leaning heavily long, which often creates downside risk. Bitcoin is also trading much closer to its yearly low than its yearly high, showing that the broader market structure is still weak. Seasonality also favors caution. August and September have historically been two of Bitcoin's weakest months, making it difficult to turn bullish too early. The dollar index has now moved back into its previous range after the failed breakout. Normally that would support risk assets, and we've already seen the S&P 500 continue pushing higher. The interesting part is that Bitcoin hasn't followed. Despite improving macro conditions, Bitcoin has struggled to gain the same momentum as traditional risk assets, which is another sign of underlying weakness. Also keep an eye on BIP 110 with mandatory signaling beginning in just one day. Minor support remains very low, making activation unlikely, but any renewed discussion around potential fork could create short-term volatility. The biggest liquidity target above the market remains June's lower high. My expectation is that Bitcoin eventually sweeps that liquidity before reversing lower toward a much larger liquidity pool sitting beneath the current price. The bullish scenario is that Bitcoin breaks above the 50-day EMA, clears the weekly resistance and the 50-month EMA, and then successfully reclaims the short-term holder realized price around $67,000. That would likely open the door for a move above June's lower high and potentially signal a strong trend reversal. The bearish scenario remains my preferred outlook. Bitcoin sweeps the liquidity above June's lower high, but fails to hold above the short-term holder realized price. Combined with positive funding rates, weak seasonality, and the broader downtrend is still intact, that would likely lead to another move lower toward the larger liquidity pools below. And that's why I posted on X. The long-term holder adaptive MVRV score hasn't entered the green zone that has marked every previous bear market bottoms. And price still hasn't broken below the long-term holder realized price, which is at $49,700, a move seen in all past bear markets. No buy signal yet from Bitcoin's long-term holder net unrealized profit per loss momentum indicator. So what do you think? Has Bitcoin truly bottomed? Or is the real capitulation still ahead? Let me know in the comments. Have a nice day, bye!